So this week's episode of Jujutsu Kaisen does the only thing logical that you could do after many people have died in a exchange event. Well, you play baseball, because that's exactly what a sane person would do. Honestly, I was really taken back in a good way by Todo and how he rationalized why they shouldn't cancel anything. One, we had no connection to the dead people, so it's not our place to mourn. And he just kind of lists off a lot of logical things, but you do also understand why maybe some people have the urgency to throw a baseball in his face, because like Yuji says, not a lot of people like Todo, because he does speak his mind and he's very forward with his preferences, but you can't deny sometimes a man does speak some facts. And to have an episode remind me of something like Samurai Champloo's baseball game, something that is intense, there's a bit of realism to it, but then you also have a witch flying on a broomstick who just, you think, this girl, how is that legal? It's one of those episodes that, honestly, I walked in this week's episode thinking not much was going to happen, because after the amount of animation insanity we've witnessed, generally what happens is the following episode, or episodes, is a lot more downtime. It's one of the calmer episodes, the simpler episodes, the dialogue episodes, because you'd seen what we just witnessed with that animation alone. It makes sense to have a lower animated episode. But to my surprise, while sure maybe the first half was what I expected, still was very cleanly animated and the drawings were all really high quality, the fact that we actually got a typical baseball episode with a slight hint of kind of supernatural jujutsu style sorcerer abilities with a ridiculous amount of comedy, I can't say this was a boring episode after coming off of such intensity with the previous fights. I really appreciate how clever it was, because what you probably were assuming was what's gonna happen with Yuji, right? The whole event was them trying to kill him, and now what's gonna happen? And even before the whole obviously shredding grandpa conversation about what are they going to do with him, I had a feeling we weren't going to go right back into the assassination, but I also didn't think they were going to drop it either. To me, the most logical outcome would be they would probably wait again for their perfect moment to strike, but at the same time, I didn't think they're just going to go back to saying, he's completely dangerous, but they recognize that he is. It's interesting how they're able to flip my kind of understanding of a character who looked like a very menacing, evil old grandpa actually is just playing by the rules. In terms of their world and their laws, what someone like Gojo did was very selfish and honestly could kill a lot of people. But as you saw with the event, if it wasn't for Yuji and Todo working together in harmony, a lot more people would have died. So it's kind of one of those things where you don't really look at what they were trying to do to Yuji as them being these evil scumbags. No, they were following the rules and weren't letting emotions dictate their actions. But now that they have an emotional connection to Yuji, now they're also being blindsided by what obviously Gojo was doing the whole time, just trying to give a kid an honest-to-go shot for as long as possible, and now it's hard to go back to just looking at him as a cursed spirit because he was a person that helped one of their own stop a really evil creature. So it's interesting how they're able to really get you to understand these perspectives and not have you say, oh, it's just some evil class that's mad at them. You go from so much hostility to the most hostility we see in this episode is the fact that they throw a goddamn pitching machine as their pitcher, labeling it as one of their own, and then you get that sort of hostility, or, you have a witch catching our balls. It's just hilarious to see how they took something that started off as an assassination plotline and turned it into a baseball episode that honestly feels perfectly executed. I also really dig how in the first, I think it was about the first 6 minutes or so of the episode, we get the perspective of the antagonist and what they were doing, how they planned everything, and honestly just getting more of them. It's interesting how this is a show that doesn't necessarily just say, okay, here's your big bad villain, he has a lot of character, a lot of great development, and then here are his underlings. It almost feels like when we focus on them chatting about what they're gonna do, it's almost like it's being directed as if they're the protagonist, the same way when we're watching Yuji and the others discuss things. It's really interesting how they want you to feel like they are people with their own personalities, and honestly, you could probably have reversed the story and given them most of the spotlight, and we probably would have been sucked into their story just as much as we are about two best friends and brothers who are kind of confused about their relationship, and honestly, I am so excited to see where Yuji and Todo will go in the future. Obviously, I don't expect they're going to be together forever because they do go to different schools and things like that, but I do hope we'll get to see them fight again eventually in a second season, a third season, I don't know when, but I'd love to see another fight, especially considering that Mother Nature kind of did get out of there just barely. So imagining a Todo and Yuji round 2 with them, That would be really incredible. I think most people are probably going to have a smile on their face leaving this episode. Generally, any sort of like downtime slice of life or debriefing episode, as you could call it, you have the giant fight and you have to figure out where to go next. Generally, they don't do too much with it because, as I mentioned, you had so much insanity, you kind of have to give the next episode an easier animation kind of schedule because there's no way you can match what you just had. But have a baseball episode, honestly, I'm excited to see what they do with next week's episode now. It just feels like this was such a fun episode, and I don't think many people would say it was pointless or meaningless. Like, not only do you get just fun slice of life baseball, you also got a lot of substance about what to do next and where to go next, and it feels like there's a reason why the assassination plotline should be dropped for now, and maybe, we kill Gojo before we do anything just because he pisses us off the most. I just had a blast watching it. It was an episode that honestly flew by just as fast as any of the previous episodes, and it doesn't feel like Jujutsu Kaisen misses its mark. It knows what it wants to be, it knows what it can be, and it feels like it can have as much insanity as it wants because you have a talking panda who's not really a panda, but he is a panda at the end of the day. You can kind of do whatever you want, and that means having witches flying around as you have a machine being your pitcher, as everyone else is just trying to kill Toto because, he's best boy and you can't have best boy in this series because he makes you all look like trash in comparison. As weird as it might sound to say, honestly, I could have, the next few episodes literally just being different sports, watching them play baseball, watching them play basketball, some football, soccer, whatever else you want to give me, because I feel like with the way the casts are and what happened, it makes total sense for them to do very kind of casual, normal activities and put them more back in their age group than just students in training to be in life or death situations. I think it would be really fun, honestly, just having a spin-off. There's certain shows that are coming out next season, like the Slime Diaries from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. A simpler side story of events. Imagine having a smaller version of Jujutsu Kaisen, similar to how after the credits you always get those little shorts or whatever. Imagine having a chibi Jujutsu Kaisen, a chibi Attack on Titan, or just a side spin-off anime of just them playing sports and other random activities, them going to the supermarket. I feel like there's a lot of ways that you could really just have a lot of fun with a smaller, condensed slice of life version of Jujutsu Kaisen. And if this episode proved anything, is that it could easily work for probably a dozen episodes. But then again, based on the way they do the kind of chibi shorts at the end of the episode, maybe they'll never go that route. Honestly, I never thought I'd see a chibi Attack on Titan and they did that, so I'm not going to say it's impossible. And the more I think about it, the more I kind of want it. I'm not sure if I'm the only one feeling that, but I mean, at this point, give me 12 episodes of baseball from Jujutsu Kaisen and I'd probably eat it all up if I'm being completely honest. This is a great episode. I'm really excited to see where the final stretch of Jujutsu Kaisen will go, but let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. Did you enjoy the baseball section and the more kind of downtime debriefing? Because as someone who's not really big into sports anime, they really made the baseball scene really fun for me, so I don't think many people will find it boring, but then again, if you did, let me know your feelings on why down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happy new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.